Good morning, I am Prarambha Tahal. Let's begin with the main stories. Proposed Chief Justice Rana mired in the suspicion arisen via his own previous rulings. Lawmakers remain skeptical despite Rana's pledge to reform the judiciary. Tenure of the Poverty Alleviation Fund under Prime Minister's jurisdiction ending today. 32 billion rupees spent in 14 years. Lives of target groups remain the same. Cabinet and Parliament Secretariat ignorant about the details of their personal secretaries. Receive secretary salaries merely on the basis of their names. And Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina secures third consecutive term with a landslide victory. The opposition condemns what it called a farcical election. The proposed Chief Justice Cholendra Samser Rana has presented his work plan during his parliamentary hearing, vowing to reform the country's judiciary by doing away with all its irregularities. Rana, who had been dragged into controversy due to his own conduct, pledged to move ahead by giving justice, delivery and good governance the utmost priority. The lawmakers during the parliamentary hearing, however, repeatedly questioned him by digging into his debated background. Presenting his work plan at yesterday's hearing, Rana pledged to abide by the responsibilities bestowed by the Constitution. He said that he would commit himself towards uplifting the court's reputation and prioritizing the implementation of directives. In response, the lawmakers, however, questioned Rana by raising the context of his own judicial rulings in the past. During his tenure, Rana had ruled that gambling is an intellectual game besides transferring the ownership of public lands to individuals, among others. The lawmakers have also sought answer from the proposed Chief Justice regarding Justice Deepak Raj Joshi, who has continued working in the judiciary despite being called back via parliamentary hearing. Meanwhile, the hearing of Rana was suspended yesterday as the staff at the Parliament Secretariat refused to work after 4 p.m., demanding extra allowance for overtime duty. Another hearing has been slated for the 1st of January 2019, the date when the incumbent Chief Justice Om Prakash Mishra is retiring from his position. The provision of depositing the salaries of all public office bearers to their personal bank accounts has been found violated by the government and the federal parliament itself. The salaries of the personal secretaries of ministers and lawmakers have not been deposited to their individual accounts, but to the accounts of the ministers and lawmakers themselves. What appears more ironical is that the Cabinet and Parliament Secretariat are not even informed about the personal details of such officials. Going by the recommendation of the Labour Ministry, the Cabinet had earlier decided to pay the salaries of personal secretaries along with their staff at all government corporations, committees and development projects via their respective bank accounts. However, the Cabinet and the Parliament Secretariat has breached the provision formulated by themselves. The Secretariat has stated that the salaries of personal secretaries have been deposited to the lawmakers' accounts due to the lack of required regulation and procedure in spite of the law. The personal secretaries of ministers get the salary equal to deputy secretary, while the personal secretaries of lawmakers are entitled to the same benefits as of other government officers. As per the existing law, one needs to have at least a bachelor's degree besides being a Nepalese citizen to get the benefits as that of a government officer. However, not even any educational or other criteria have been set for the personal secretaries of ministers and lawmakers, while they randomly receive salaries from the state coffers. The amount is being assigned from the state fund merely on the basis of names provided by the ministers and lawmakers. The public therefore could hardly expect anything from the high-ranking public officials, as the major problems of executing state decisions and formulating laws are themselves mired in irregularities to such an extent. Now moving on, Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli has alleged that the elements aimed at disrupting the national unity have become active in recent days. Speaking at a program organized to mark the Thamu Losar festival in the capital, Prime Minister Oli stressed on the need of a joint commitment against the activities aimed at disrupting the national and cultural harmony. Premier Oli also pledged that the government would prioritize the preservation of the cultures and festivals belonging to ethnic and indigenous nationalities. Speaking at the program, the organizer, however, had expressed discontent with the Prime Minister over the government's scrapping of the public holiday on the day of Thamu Losar. The Gurung community in the country celebrate the festival with a lot of fanfare as the beginning of their new year. Today is the deadline for the transfer of the jurisdiction of Poverty Alleviation Fund to the Ministry of Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation from the Prime Minister's office. The fund spent as much as 32 billion rupees in the course of 14 years in the name of poverty alleviation. Out of it, only 14 billion rupees reached the actual beneficiaries, while the remaining were spent for administrative aspects. The Poverty Alleviation Fund was established with the provision of Prime Minister as its chairman, with an objective of doing away with the persistent and abject poverty in the country. Since the day of its establishment, the fund has already spent 32 billion rupees provided as grant by the World Bank. The 14 billion rupees of the fund has been spent via different local community organizations for livelihood development programs like cattle rearing and vegetable farming, among others. The remaining huge portion of 18 billion rupees has, however, been spent on staff salaries and payment for consultants, among other administrative headings. Although the fund has insisted that the scheme has helped uplifting 900,000 families of 554 local levels from the level of poverty, there has hardly been any changes in the lives of the targeted population. Citing that the fund failed to work for the welfare of the country's poor populace, former Minister for Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation, Chitra Bahadur Kesi, had called for bringing the fund under the ministry's jurisdiction 3 years ago. The then Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli, however, remained indifferent towards the proposal. During several investigations, it has been revealed that the fund not only committed irregularities in administrative expenses, but also while distributing money via local community organizations. Graft cases in this regard are currently under consideration against 36 individuals involved in the scheme. The Ministry of Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation, however, has claimed that it would allow such malpractices repeat for the fund has now come under its jurisdiction. The government decided to bring the fund under the ministry's jurisdiction after the World Bank warned of discontinuing its assistance. It is yet to be seen whether the ministry's pledge will actually materialize. Some 500 students of the capital's Sankardev campus have been stranded after the police denied the college administration from using the premises at Jamal's Nepal National Library. The students of MBM had reached Jamal yesterday morning to attend their classes. However, the police administration denied them entry into Jamal premises. Following the police action, the students held their classes on the pavement itself as a sign of protest. Following the 2015 April earthquake, the Srivan University had given permission to Sankardev College to operate their classes at the Nepal National Library building. However, the library has now issued a notice to vacate the occupied building. The BBM students are now worried about the approaching exams in 2 months' time. The Constitution has clearly determined the rights and privileges of mayor and deputy mayors along with the chairman and vice chairman of rural municipalities. However, a persistent dispute has emerged in Dhanusa district due to the local representatives' failure in living up to their responsibilities. The differences among the people's representatives themselves has been hampering the district's development works. The elected representatives and government employees in the district regularly attend a morning session when they vow to perform their duties with honesty and dedication. They, however, often do not abide by their own commitment towards professional integrity but resort to interference on others' works, along with the blame game and altercations against each other. The arguments, however, are not related to any development works or improving service delivery to the public, but merely about vested interests and personal benefits. The dispute as such has now become frequent at all the 18 local levels of Dhanusa district. The rice provided as grant by the Japanese government to distribute to the residents of Karnali province has remained stuck at the godown of Nepal Food Corporation. The corporation has set an expensive price for the rice, due to which the public has stopped buying it. Altogether, 27,000 quintals of rice provided as grant from the Japanese government was brought to Surkhet by the year 2017. The Food Corporation has set the price of the rice at 40 to 56 rupees per kilogram. The price has been reduced from the previous 65 rupees, anticipating an increase in its sale. The residents of Karnali province, however, are still not willing to buy the rice, citing that it was still expensive and that the taste of the Japanese rice is not as good as the one produced in Nepal. The rice that was sent to Nepal was collected through the voluntary donation of Japanese citizens, meant for the poor Nepalese people dwelling in the hilly and mountainous districts. The rice has been stocked at the storage facility due to the corporation's attempt to acquire undue interest while selling the crop that was otherwise provided for free by the Japanese government. Experts are of the view that the price should be further reduced so as to only cover the expenses incurred during its supply. They have warned that the rice would otherwise go to waste in the go-down without coming into any use for the ones who actually need it. The Local Government Operation Act has assigned the responsibility of managing the school-level education to local levels. In this context, we had asked the officials of the local levels in Rupandehi how are they planning to improve the infrastructural and education management of the local schools. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
प्रत्येक विद्यालयमा सुरुवात गरेछ बाल विकास कक्षाको 5-5 लाख रुपैयाँ त्यो व्यवस्थित गर्नको लागि दिएका छौं र साथै यी हाजिरीको लागि अटेन्डेन्सको लागि प्रत्येक विद्यालयमा जडान गर्नको लागि त्यो पनि सुरु गरिसकेका छौं
1 2 3 4 पढ्ने विद्यालयहरुलाई हामीले कार्पेट र यो गर्मीमा चाहिँ यो हामीले कक्षा कोठादेखि यो पंखादेखि लिएर सबै व्यवस्थामा
त्यस्तो पढाउँदैन टिचरहरु राजनीति गर्छ त्यहाँलाई गएर डेली मैले उनीहरुलाई डाँट फटकार लगाउँछु
3400 विद्यार्थीलाई एक साल पुग्ने गरी कति कलम लाग्छ कति कापी लाग्छ र झोला अनि ड्रेस हामीले बनाइदिन्छौं भने मैले प्रतिबद्धता जाहेर गरे।
बुटोल उपमहानगरपालिकाले प्रारम्भिक तहका बच्चाहरूलाई चाहिँ खाजा कार्यक्रम हामी सुरुवात गरेका छौं।
कक्षा कोठालाई हाइली फर्निशिङ गर्ने सहर ढंगले चाहिँ पठन पाठन गर्न मिल्ने वातावरण सृजना गर्ने र त्यसमा पढाउने शिक्षकहरूलाई चाहिँ नियमित तालिमको चाहिँ व्यवस्था चाहिँ गर्ने प्रक्रिया पनि चाहिँ अगाडि बढाएका छौं।
के कमी छ कक्षा कोठादेखि विद्यालय परिसरसम्म त्यो भौतिक साधन स्रोतको व्यवस्थापन गर्ने
अलिकता बढी पैसा छुट्याएछ शिक्षाको लागि तर म त्यो स्कुलमा गएर एक हप्ता 10 दिनमा त्यहाँ ज्यादा म टिचरहरूलाई पनि अलिकता टाइट गर्छौं।
It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, why has the money spent for poverty alleviation failed to produce any result? Your options are A, not reaching the target groups, B, undue administrative expenses, and the last option, option C, is incorrect samples. The voting is on. You can type NEWS, select your option A, B or C, and then send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. With this, let us move on to the sports news.
Sports news.
3 matches of the Game Week 12 under the Martyrs Memorial A Division League are slated for today. Manang Marsangdi Club MMC are champions-elect with their winning run ensuring them 33 points in 11 matches. Manang secured the title with 2 matches to play following their 3-1 win against their nearest followers Sankata. The contest now will be interesting for the second spot, which is a close competition between Sankata, 3-star and 3-1 Army. Army play against Jalakal Youth Club. The match, which will be played at the APF's ground in Halchok, will kick off at 2:30 p.m. Army are placed 4th in the league table with 21 points. A win today would take Army to the 3rd place, overtaking 3-star. 3-star themselves have 23 points, while second-placed Sankata have 25 points. The first match of the day, slated for an 11 a.m. kickoff at Anfa Complex Sadabata, will see Neuro Team NRT take on Machindra, while the second match at the same venue, which will kick off at 2:30 p.m., will see Friends play against Brigade Boys. League champions Manang Marsangdi will purse 5 million rupees, while runners-up will receive 3.5 million and third-place team will bag 2.5 million rupees. It has been difficult to organize regional competitions in the hilly districts of the far western region due to the lack of proper sporting grounds. Due to this, most of the competitions are being organized in school premises or locals' private lands. Last year, organizing a regional cricket tournament in Dalildura went through a huge difficulty due to the scarcity of proper playing ground. The competition was ultimately held by preparing a ground on one of the unused fields of a local resident. There is not even a playground in Dalildura, Doti, Bazang and Darchula districts. The only ground in Baitari has also remained stranded for the past 4 years due to the dispute regarding construction. Even the Sports Development Committee assigned with the responsibility of organizing sporting events has failed to make any serious efforts in terms of preparing proper playgrounds. This has significantly disappointed the sports enthusiasts in the far western region. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 a.m. Thank you for watching Kantipur TV SD. Have a great day ahead.